welcome back to my channel at Nuance Orbit. So it was a great time, but when I thought about a series called Alternate Timeline, so I'm gonna explore the branches out here. Like, for example, now Trump's impeachment is happening. This is the branch that is happening. So this is the branch. We don't still know what's gonna happen. So let's talk about more branches, more possibilities than the straightforward branch that's gonna happen. More possibility of the Senate, on the Congress, of the future of the United States. We are going to talk. This is 2021, 2021 or 2021 January. This is going to be February. This is going to be March. This is going to be April, and more like that. Later it's going to be 2022 also, and then we are going to explore the possibilities too. We are going to only talk about 1 year because it gets really hard after 1 year, and predictability noises over time. So you need to remember that. We're going to explore 1 year. But remember, when it's going to be in April or March, I'm going to bring out new series about conspiracy theories or conspiracy theories if you are a Trump supporter. That makes no sense. Whatever. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about 2022's March or January or like April or July, like that. And also going to explore other countries' possibilities, other countries' problems. But now we are going to talk about the US and up to 2022, January. So let's talk about it. Now this is Trump's impeachment timeline. And I'm first going to talk about what are the possibilities. Number one, Trump doesn't get impeached by the Senate. This is an increasingly unlikely scenario according to me, because Trump impeachment doesn't just make sense once the Senate does. But there are two possibilities that this could happen. So I'm also going to talk about how this actually happened. Let's say the Senate doesn't want. This is the simplest one, how Trump doesn't get impeached. Or other people or supporters or any kind of thing else try to kind of reflect the scenario to another way. Like, let's say they kind of force the Senate to go on a recess. So now that Trump transition had been pushed all the way to the Biden transition. So it has been cancelled. So this is one possibility that Trump can do. But remember, this is gonna take only a few days of recess. There could be only 3 days of recess, and today it's January 17th. So January 20 will overlap just by a short period. So let's just go out. So as we saw, this transition happens. But the other timeline that could happen is that Trump simply just goes impeached. This is the likely timeline, so I'm kind of giving it straightforward like this. The more likelier timeline will be on this area. So we are gonna. And the third possible timeline is Trump doesn't just want to get impeached, so he just does what he done with the election. He doesn't do lost. He doesn't lose and say that. It's increasingly unlikely, even unlikely than Trump's impeachment not happening. So this is what's happening. And next we're going to see the Biden transition. This is the main hard part of the thing. And the number one is obviously just he moves on to the other things, just like normal. Number two is it is a little delayed by other things, like let's say a recess happens and the Senate still wants to actually vote and impeach Trump. So it could be overlapped with this. So it goes like this timeline. It goes with this timeline to this timeline. So it's more like these are connected to these branches. So it's a full on timeline going like this. So now we have two main timelines. This is alternate timeline A and timeline B. Now let's go on later on. Number three is that Biden just can't actually go right now, but a few days later he can. I don't know what are the possibilities, but these could be done by anything but that time B. So this could become a another branch actually. So we now have timeline A, timeline B, timeline C. 3 timelines already on a period of just a few days. Did you see how much fast this goes? And we are talking about a whole year right now. So on February, we are gonna probably see vaccines start popping up, because I don't want to now talk about political things right now. I'm gonna later talk about that Watergate. So we are gonna see vaccines pop up right now. So for example, vaccine pop-ups. More vaccines are approved by the FDA all the way up till the entire world adopts them. Number one thing is that they just adopt it. I'm giving this because it's a little unlikelier like this. So I'm giving this as another timeline. So it becomes another timeline at the same time of timeline C. So as you can see, and this is another one, as we can see. This timeline just says that, well, vaccine doesn't come. And this last timeline says vaccine will come, but a little later. This is the biggest popularity according to me, because it doesn't just make sense why 1 month later we are going to get vaccine. It makes sense a little later. Moving on, at the next area, we can find only one timeline, and this is the likely one, because on March, I think that there is going to be another lockdown just for vaccine usage or something like that. So, for example, 1 month of quarantine could be given just for extra protection, because vaccines are already going to arrive, according to me. So 1 month of extra protection is always good. So we know that. So it's between April and it's between April, June, and July on this timeline. So we are almost reaching 2022. Okay. So let's go. We are gonna see what can happen later. Well, vaccine is adopted finally on the main timeline, but on timeline D, something right different might happen. Remember that vaccine could be delayed. So let's just say vaccine was delayed once, and the public just doesn't want to it because they think that they are going to be delayed again. Remember, people are always predicting the future, just like me with the past. So I'm predicting coronavirus pandemic by the past pandemics. So people are going to predict it by what happened on February. So we are going to think that in timeline D is going to get lower numbers. Now the big question why everyone is kinda discouraged by the election. Does Russia or China or any other country affect this? Well, firstly, we are going to talk about the possibilities, because Russia could never invade it. Cyber attack is the likely one. So we are going to talk about cyber attack. So this creates another branch, which is essentially goes to 2022, just January. So we'll talk about that later on. So 2022 cyber attacks happen on the US. So the US is essentially freaking out, and relations between the Russian sour, essentially because people are not wanting that. So as soon as that happens, there will be like a second trade war, just like the Second World War, like that, something like that, or China, which will also create the second trade war. And war with, I guess, another country, kind of like any other country, kind of seems very unlikely. So I'll miss these timelines. So we got 2 timelines of China and Russia, but essentially what they do is essentially mix up to the same result. So the same result is that a trade war happens. So we have given this like a same timeline of 2022, and now this is what is the possibility alongside it. So now we are going to talk about what's actually going to happen on 2022, because this is where we are getting to the hard part. As you can see, in February the thing gets a little unlikely. On June it gets even unlikely. On July and then on December and October it gets a lot unlikely. So as you can see, as time passes by, it's harder to predict because what we're essentially going to predict is by the past, because past always affects the future. So as you can see, if on February the vaccination delay never happened, then there will be higher numbers here. As you can see, it affects. That's why if time travel was created from here to here to stop that, the results will be a little different on the final world. Maybe timeline D will have never actually rose up. It will have been the same timeline as timeline A. So it is a lot complicated. I can't understand. On November and December, I think coronavirus has wiped out entirely. So it took 2 years for coronavirus, or maybe 3 years if you're 2 years. We'll call it 2 years for coronavirus to rose and fall down. This is my prediction at least. So at finally 2022 has arrived. And 2022, the main thing that's gonna happen is Trump supporters are again gonna go crazy, because that's what I think. Because as you can see, 2022 is a fresh new year, and there's only one more year before another pre-election happens. So another middle term happens for Biden. So that's why 2022 Trump supporters are gonna go crazy once again, and he's probably sitting on prison right now. So we don't want to talk about Trump doing any kind of thing like that. So finally 2022 has arrived, and we are going to talk about that. Bye bye everyone. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell at Amy Runs Orbit.